You've probably heard Pandora's box, right? It's one of those classic tales from Greek mythology. But at its heart, the story of Pandora, the very first mortal woman, is really about a trait that every single one of us has. And that trait brings us to this big, kind of tricky question. Is curiosity a blessing or is it a curse? I mean, is it this amazing gift that pushes us to discover new things, or is it something dangerous that can just unleash chaos? Well, for the ancient Greeks, Pandora was the living, breathing answer to that very dilemma. All right, so let's get into her origin story. How did Pandora even come to exist? Well, she was actually crafted by Hephaestus, the god of fire. But here's the thing, he didn't do it alone. Oh no, he got all his divine buddies involved to make her something truly special. So you can almost picture it, right? Pandora is being put together piece by the gods themselves. Aphrodite gives her this incredible capacity for deep emotion. Hermes comes along and gives her a total mastery of language. Athena bestows upon her the gift of fine craftsmanship. And then comes Zeus, the king of the gods. And he gives her two final gifts that would change everything. This blazing, intense curiosity and a mysterious, ornate box. Okay, we have to talk about that box, because this wasn't just some old container. It was heavy, it was intricately carved, and it was sealed shut, super tightly. It was basically a puzzle, a temptation, and a huge burden, all rolled into one. And Zeus's instructions, they were crystal clear. He gave Pandora this really serious warning, saying, hey, whatever is in this box, it is not for mortal eyes. She was forbidden, absolutely forbidden, from opening it, ever. Which, of course, just made the whole thing even more mysterious, right? So Pandora goes down to Earth to start her life, and there she meets and totally falls for this titan named Epimetheus. He's actually designing the natural world, which is pretty cool. And get this, he's the brother of Prometheus, the titan who got in major trouble with Zeus for giving fire to humans. Epimetheus was grieving, and in Pandora he found this kindred spirit, another fiery soul to share his life with. But even with this new life, a storm was brewing inside her. On the one hand, life with Epimetheus was amazing, full of love, full of excitement. But on the other hand, there was the box. That sealed box was a constant temptation. She kept thinking, what could possibly be so precious that it could never be seen? The whole mystery just started to consume her thoughts, pulling her in with a force she'd never felt before. And that curiosity, it really started to spiral. It became a full-blown obsession. Her fingers literally itched to just pry it open. It got so bad, she was convinced she could hear these creepy voices whispering from inside, calling her name, getting louder and louder. It was just this maddening enigma, this force that felt totally beyond her control. You know where this is going, right? This intense internal battle could only end one way. Pandora finally hit her breaking point. She just couldn't stand the mystery for one more second. And she started to rationalize, the way we all do when we're tempted. She snuck away from Epimetheus and just stood there, staring at the box. Just one peek, she probably told herself. That's all. Then I can get it out of my head for good. Famous last words, right? But of course, the second she cracked that lid, it was too late. The box didn't just creak open, no, it burst open with this incredible, violent force. And in a split second, this gruesome cloud of smoke just rushed out, swirling all around her. It was filled with monstrous creatures, and she could hear these horrible sounds of screeching and cackling. She was terrified. She tried to slam the lid shut to force them all back in, but it was no use. You see, Zeus had used that box as a container for every evil and all the suffering he'd ever created. And once they were out for good. There was no containing them. So as this monstrous cloud floated away to spread across the entire world, Pandora was just left there weeping, absolutely horrified by what she'd done. But the story doesn't end there, in total and complete despair. In the middle of all her crying, she heard something else, something still inside the box. And this wasn't like the creepy whispering from before. This was a light, almost gentle tinkling sound, and somehow it seemed to just calm her down. So very carefully, she lifted the lid one last time, and from inside, a single warm beam of light floated out. It wasn't a monster, it wasn't a demon, it was hope, and it fluttered away out into the world. Now, Pandora knew what she did couldn't be undone. All those evils were out in the world, and they were there to stay. But in that same moment of despair, she'd also released the one thing that could help humanity get through all the awfulness she'd unleashed. She gave the world hope. So, what's the takeaway here? This ancient myth leaves us with a really fascinating legacy, one that makes you think about the very nature of being human. I mean, think about it. On one hand, the phrase opening Pandora's box is something we still use today, right? It's a metaphor for causing huge, unexpected problems by messing with things we shouldn't. It's a total cautionary tale. But on the other hand, Pandora's intense curiosity is also something deeply human. It's that drive we all have to ask questions, to explore, and to try and figure out the world around us. And that leaves us with this final big question, one that's just as relevant now as it was thousands of years ago in ancient Greece. Are we meant to investigate everything, to push every single boundary? Or are there some doors, some boxes, some mysteries in this universe that are just better left unsolved?